Greetings everyone, welcome to another open house here in the wasteland, and haven't done one of these in quite a while. I have quite a few builds that I'd like to do a little tour of that I didn't do a Let's Build It on, and this is one of them that I actually thought about doing a Let's Build It. I did record all the building. I just didn't think it would have been much of an interesting build, I guess, in general, because I didn't really change a whole lot. I thought it might be worth at least giving an open house and a little bit of details on the building of it. And of course, as you can tell, I'm talking about GrayGarden.
Welcome to GrayGarden, darling.
Already from out here you can see I didn't change a whole lot here in the front. I wanted to try and keep all the original game type stuff untouched, much like all the mutt fruit trees, robots. So I didn't touch any of that. I left that there because I didn't want to interrupt any of that in regards to the game. So we'll look into that, and we'll look into just the whole concept of this GrayGarden. So what do you say we get on with a little bit of the tour? More of the details of the building and what this whole build is actually about. Okay, the main concept was that this was a farm, but at the same time also a place where you can buy all the food that they grow. So the robots are in control of this, selling and growing their own fruit, vegetables, and things like that. And this would be a place where people can come and pick up the vegetables in kind of like a farmer's market type thing. As you see here, all the vegetables, fruit, and I also built this little area here. That might be the place where you would order certain fruits or vegetables, or pay for whatever you grab. Now initially, early in the build, I wanted to leave a lot of the original gameplay stuff untouched. So when building this, I scrapped everything basically. I wanted to start over on this whole warehouse, greenhouse type thing. So I scrapped everything except for all the interior in regards to the plants and the shelving that the robots are attending to. So for example, these robots here, none of this has changed. I added in the floor and obviously new walls or the ceiling. And initially, early on in the build, I wasn't really quite sure how I was going to go about changing the warehouse and how it looks and how it operates. If you recall, there are two small doors on either edge of the greenhouse. Here I wanted to make that a little more accessible, almost a garage door type openings here. That's why I chose to do these large barn style open doors. I think that's a little better than the small doors, and that also allowed me to add this little office here on the edge. So initially the idea was to make this a larger version of what was here. And as you can see, it's much more warehouse-like. And I wanted to keep kind of that old west style overhang roofing there on the edge, and these planks here just for walking, and that continues over to here, which we'll get into that soon. So the build continued up and higher. At one point it was pretty low level wise. It wasn't too high, and then it wound up being 2.5 stories high at least. And I thought that was just a good way to continue the warehouse thing that I wanted to do, but at the same time up above have all this glass in the roof, so it has a greenhouse feel for all the growing inside, and it's not closed into a warehouse. Very tall ceilings there, plenty of open glass and light coming in. Now that we've seen roughly this interior warehouse, we'll come back to this, show you a little bit more, but what do you say we go over here to the robot maintenance area? we'll jump on this real quick, get this done, and then we can move back into the warehouse. As I said, the robots continue to do their job out here, growing with the trees here. And my idea is that maybe this is a maintenance or repair area for the robots. I knew I wanted to build some other building over here next to this grow area, but I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do. So early stages kind of threw in a foundation, thought maybe it might be another growing area, but then I got on the idea that maybe there is somebody here that does repair the robots, maybe works and does some maintenance, but who knows, maybe it's a synth that is the repairman. So just wanted to create some kind of workshop slash garage. Maybe gave the idea that they were working on these robots, repairing them, you know, fixing them up in case there's any kind of damage or errors they have, get them back to work. So pretty simple. Got a little bit of clutter in there. I wanted to make it look used, like a repair garage. And I think I have just enough in there. I didn't want to overdo it, overload it, but you get the idea. Adding in some junk here on the side just to give it that look. Also added in these lighting poles or beams. I wanted to add some lighting for night, but I didn't want lamppost style lights, say like the lampposts from Sanctuary or the Nuka-Cola ones. I wanted these string lights, and the best way I could think of to string these across is maybe make these long extended beams here, and these little wooden beam type things work perfect. I think these are possibly from the Far Harbor objects that you can get, but I think they work great and allows you to see much better at night here, and it doesn't have the obnoxious street lamp posts that I don't necessarily think you would have here. I think this fits a little better with what the GrayGarden might have. So let's go up here and check out the upstairs for this person that would be working here in the garage. This would be like a little apartment type thing, living area with a door clipping into the fridge. Have to move that or something. Okay, so pretty simple kitchen area here, combined with the living room. Little sleeping area here, and also a bathroom spot. So pretty simple, nothing too fancy. Out and make sure all the robots are working. So originally building this was just an open space. Wasn't exactly sure what it was going to be, but then not far into the main build, I realized I did want to make this maybe some kind of living apartment or something like that. So that's what this wound up turning into, and then that sprung off the whole garage thing down there. Nice little outdoor patio, deck type area. A pretty amazing view there. Let's head back down here and head into the warehouse again. So the robots are still doing their usual routine from the original game. As I mentioned, I didn't want to mess with that because I feel like if I started deleting a lot of stuff in regards to that, it might mess up the game, because this is my build game, so I haven't actually played through a lot of the missions, only the ones I need to unlock, say, the settlement that I want to work in. I just wanted to avoid, any kind of errors or deleting too much. I kept the original tables here. I know at one point I did start building this whole warehouse very clean, almost institute clean room style, and I started building these tables around what was here, so the robots would still continue on their path, but working on something much nicer. And that glitched out and didn't quite work and gave me a lot of problems. So that's why I decided later on to give it another go. And that's why I decided just to leave it more game friendly as far as kind of beat up, run down. Another thing I did want to save is the whole sprinkler system here. So I did delete everything around that as far as the roof, but I did save the sprinkler systems because I don't have those on the PS3 and not really able to rebuild those. So I thought it might be a good idea to save those and build around and make it look like that's the way it was. So upstairs there, you see a little office area, and also over here, another level, which we'll go check out here soon. But I did want to add in some elements that this was a working farm, for the food. Includes these giant water tanks. Thought that was a good addition just to give it the idea that they do have a water system here. And this conveyor belt here in the back, once the vegetables or fruit is picked, it's thrown on here on the conveyor belt that goes through this wall here and into the back area. And this leads up to the main packing center from the conveyor belt downstairs. So the idea is that it would all come up here, get then loaded into these boxes, these pallets, and then be carted over here to another conveyor area that would then go down and then out into the people here to pick up their deliveries. Thought process on that wasn't too much. Originally I wanted to have it come out here through the wall again, out here to the back area, but then I had this workbench here to deal with, so I started building the garage to house the original workbench. This was pretty open here, a lot of junk laying around, and I wanted to close that in, wanted to make it more of a maintenance shed, or maybe keep some of the junk and make it more of a scrappy scavenger, type thing here in the back. And that kind of took up some space and kind of blocked my whole idea of the conveyor belt type thing. I guess I could still have it come out, but at this point I'm pretty much done with the build. If I had gone back, or if I wanted to go back and redo some of this, I would definitely continue this out and over to more of a loading area, maybe here. But you get the idea that this is more, what it is. It's more the back area. It's not really what everybody sees. It's more of a dumping ground, little extra containers of nuclear waste, which is not something you want to see outside of the place where you buy your fruits and vegetables. But kind of all over the place, but wasn't really planning this out too much. Now this originally was going to be offices and some desks and things like that, overlooking the whole work area here. But I did want to kind of keep with the whole robot lore type thing, so having a bunch of desks and offices up here wasn't going to work as well, because then there'd be too many humans working here, and I figured I could get away with just the one, but I still wanted to continue with the robot issue. It doesn't explain, however, this other office here, but I thought maybe the maintenance guy did have a work office rather than just the garage repair shop. So a pretty standard kind of work office, that maybe if there's any dealings with any of the people from the wasteland coming here to buy stuff or order stuff, I just thought it'd be a cool idea to add that office. Once I did start building this warehouse, I wanted to add some things to make it a little more unique, and I thought this catwalk walkway type thing would be a cool idea right here above the entrance. but I wanted it to lead to something, so that's why I put this office here. And that kind of changed quite a few times, mainly because of the roof area up there. That changed, trying to figure out what kind of roofing system I wanted, whether it was angled like that or if it was just straight. So that did change a few times, but I think it worked out pretty well. And the sprinkler system that I did keep, I had to think of a way to hang that, and using this fence post all the way up there, connected to this beam, might give you the idea of how it's hanging there. Rather than having it come up from the ground, maybe have it come down from the ceiling. So as you can probably figure out, a working business, selling the fruits and vegetables, that was kind of the idea of this whole build, is making some kind of farm. And I'll bring you up here to the office area, this little front office. So this is where you pay for your food, order it. I really wanted to add in an office here, and I thought this little window countertop area worked out pretty well, and then was perfect as a retail area where you could pay for this stuff. And this is basically the edge of the greenhouse originally. I didn't want to go too far. I think the build area is right here to the edge of the fence. I didn't want to start bringing in the extra build anywhere workbench. Wanted to use the original workbench, so that's why I ended the warehouse here. Because I did have an idea of making this maybe twice as long, really long work area, more robots and things like that, but I figured I'd keep it a little simpler and keep it more game friendly. Now from the outside, wanted to close it in a little, have a little bit of security here. There's not much, especially with this high hillside like this. You can just run and jump over the fence, but I wanted to add something in there just so it gave you the idea of walled-in security for this farm, and kept that pretty junky. I didn't want to use anything too fancy. It's just old hedges and rusty chain link fence. Maybe some junk wall here and some turrets here and there just for some protection. And because this is a farming area, I thought it might be a good idea to add in some more water options here. Just give it a more realistic feel to it as far as a garden work area. And as you can tell, I also kept the original spot where you walk in regards to the main game. So I kept that. Like I said, I didn't want to mess with too much of the original game, so I thought maybe I'll just leave the entrance towards this area here and build up around the property. Again, more fencing. I didn't want to block off this whole GrayGarden. I wanted you to still be able to see it visibly from the tracks here. So that's why I used the chain link fence there. And a lot of the large boulders just to build up the area around the repair garage and that little apartment up there. So I could raise that all up. So I didn't want to fill in this whole area here, but I did want to have it come off the back and add in these large poles for the deck just for a little more support, more realistic support. And early in the build, I was going to build some more living quarters up above here, up on the freeway. I did download a mod for this little elevator lift type thing. It allowed me to go up there. But then once I got the workbench up there, the Place Anywhere workbench, it was very difficult to pick up and place items. I had to come all the way down here to solid ground to be able to grab them. So I pretty much gave up on building up there. It's just going to be way too much work. And in a way, I was kind of done with this build and wanted to move on to something else. So that pretty much will conclude this little walk-through open house of the GrayGarden, the newly improved GrayGarden farmers market and warehouse. I like this build. Nothing too fancy, nothing too extraordinary, just a more souped up version of the old GrayGarden with a little bit of extra things added, and still sticks within the game lore with a few exceptions, but I think it still works. So hope you enjoyed the tour, and hope to see you at the next tour. I don't know what that will be or where, but as far as this one goes, let's cut it out here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. And until next time, keep building.